Welcome to Dark Magic. I'm your host, the Banana King. I really got to get a new phrase, man. Really, you know what I mean? Just
A different
Banana
one than
King this, Banana King that.
Dark magic
Everything's
this, dark magic that. That reminds me of the Aragon movie commentary when he's flying literally on a thing of dark magic, and for some reason that was not your first phrase out of your mouth. You're like, wait a minute, that's my thing. I should have known this.
It's but for real, he's writing dark magic. What is that? What is happening?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that was such a bad movie. You had two villains. You know what I mean? You had Malkovich and the other guy.
Yeah.
It's they shouldn't have even had Malkovich. They should have made Galbatorix almost like a distant, unknown figure. That would have made him scary. If you're going to have a secondary villain that actually will be the main villain for the film.
Well, I mean, literally, you see Galbatorix in the opening minutes. I think within the first minute of the movie starting, you actually see Galbatorix. And if there was one strength of the way Galbatorix was handled in the series, although arguably at times it is a weakness, it is the fact that Galbatorix is this unknown, distant quantity. And granted, that did have problems because, for example, it does mean that we have to take everybody's word for who he is rather than ever getting a sense of that for ourselves. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that's Aragon talk. This is Twilight talk today.
This is Twilight.
This is Twilligat talk today.
Twilligat talk with your hosts, Josiah Clark and John Piston.
Yeah.
Yep.
Book Blitz. Welcome back, everybody, to Twilight. And today we are talking about the chapter 7, Nightmare.
7. Nightmare. I always associate the number 7 with nightmares.
Really?
You know? I'm sorry, that's me trying to make a joke, and it's not going anywhere.
Because I thought you were going down an actual road
being
there,
genuine, dude, no, 7 is my nightmare number, dude.
Last time, Bella went with her friends to La Push, which is a beach, and at the Native American reservation.
Oh, that's right. I was like, what are you talking about? No, she didn't.
Yeah, they did.
With because I'm thinking you're talking about a girl name, and I'm like, no, Edith went to the thing.
Oh, that's right. The gender bending strikes again. I knew at some point we were going to throw each other off with that.
It happened fast, man.
Well, it took us 7 chapters. I mean, I was expecting it to happen sooner. Anyway, so yes, Bella went to the beach with her friends, met some people, and today, after being freaked out by the stories she heard from Jacob about the cold ones and werewolves and vampires and all sorts of crazy stuff, Bella goes home, and she just has a nightmare, and her nightmare is about Edward and a giant werewolf. And it starts with Jacob, and Jacob's running through the woods telling her to run for her life. And then Jacob, next thing she knows, instead of Jacob, there's a wolf. There's a giant wolf. And then Edward comes out of the trees, and then Edward and the wolf face off at each other, and Jacob, who is the wolf in the dream, charges
Jacob, who is the wolf.
Jacob, who is the wolf. Jacob, who knows what it is to be the wolf.
He knows what it is to wolf.
If anybody ever did wolf, it was he.
It was good old Jacob.
So Jacob, as this werewolf, launches himself at Edward, about to just destroy him. And Bella's like, no! And she wakes herself up. And then she goes out the next morning and she just kind of sits in the woods by herself for a while. And and she realizes that her dream means that she is in love with Edward. And that the reason she was saying no in the dream was because she was scared for the wolf. She was scared that Edward could get harmed by the wolf. Or she was scared because of the wolf, not because of Edward. And so because she was scared for Edward's sake, that means that she must really be in love. And so we later on at school, we have some more asking out on dates that happens. But by this point, you know, Bella's pretty positive that she wants the vampire boy. She's at school, and Jessica comes up to her and invites her to go to a city called Port Angeles with some friends of theirs to go dress shopping. And she eventually says yes. And then the chapter ends as, you know, I think later that same night, or the next day, actually. The next day, they go on their shopping trip. They set off in the car, driving out for a city called Port Angeles to go do some prom shopping. And it's right about this point that we see the biggest difference between teen fiction for girls and teen fiction for boys. Teen fiction for boys would almost never have a section where the main character debates if they're going to go on a clothes shopping trip or not, much less use that trip as a jumping off point for the plot, as a significant plot event, because that's what the entire next chapter is about, is a very important thing that happens while they're on their prom shopping trip. And the reason I bring that up is because as you are reading the gender bent version, I'm curious, what happens? Like, what is it the same sort of thing? Are they looking to go to get tuxes, or is he going with some of the girls to shop for dresses too? Like, no, how do they change it?
Is this the thing where like he's with them and then like he gets attacked and then
that's the next chapter. I'm talking about the chapter right before when the invitation is extended to go to Port Angeles, and then he accepts.
But the invitation, like, so. In your version, she gets invited and then she ends up going, right? And then that ends up... Okay, in my version, they're going to the movies.
Oh, okay, so they're going to the movies in Port Angeles.
Yeah. They're going to see the movies.
Okay, that's interesting. And I'm also... It'll be really interesting in the next chapter to hear how it's different, because in the original, when they go to Port Angeles, there's something that happens. You referenced, there's an attack that happens, and the way that's presented is kind of interesting. I'd be curious to see what the differences are in your version with the gender bending, because that is actually probably the most significant change I've heard so far. I mean, yeah, you could argue that, you know, changing the genders of some of the characters is more so, but as far as the actual progression of the plot and the actual storytelling, like, that's probably the most significant change I've heard so far in your version.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think it's a very superficial change still. You'll see like
probably exactly the same thing effectively happens.
Yeah, it ends up being like exactly the same, basically.
Gotcha, okay. Still, that is kind of funny to me. That I think that, again, is an illustration that in doing the gender bending, there was no intention of challenging gender norms. And any of that we come across is incidental, because if it had been an intentional thing, then it could have been that if Bo was good friends with some of the girls that were at the school, that they knew he wasn't going and they like asked him to go along as like a way to flirt with them or to make him jealous or something like that, or if he really is that close of friends with them, they just want him to go, and then he's like, okay, and he just goes and he's fine with it. Like,
well, you gotta remember that the characters are gender switched too, so I mean, like, in that case, it would be totally different. So it would be like he'd be going with your version of like this, like he'd be going with, in my version, if that was the case, he'd be going with Michaela. So it'd be as if like Bella.
Oh, so one of the girls that likes him. Yeah, that makes sense. that makes
Because
sense.
you see what I'm saying? Like, it would be like, so it would be a totally different. It wouldn't just be like, oh, my friend who's a girl. You know,
Yeah,
it'd
it'd be like
no.
the girl who keeps like trying to get me to go on dates with her is now asking me
Yeah,
on
yeah.
another date
So,
with her to go shop for prom dresses with another guy. Like, yeah, that makes sense. No, that's yeah, okay, that makes sense. Is it prom, by the
silly
way?
thought.
I think it's prom.
Well, see, in mine, it's not just prom. It's actually not prom. It's actually not prom at all.
Well,
Mine
I
is
think I'm
actually,
remembering it wrong, honestly. I think prom.
No, no, no. I think your because I think we actually talked about this a couple of episodes ago. We talked about how like in your version, it makes no sense that it's a girls ask guys dance. Um, if in the end the whole point is that the guys keep asking her to ask them.
Yeah, exactly. Because effectively, like, the guys are the ones doing all the asking, and like the girls, it's like it's funny because, and I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but it's just really funny to me how it works out because in the girls' choice dance in the original version, the girls do ask, but they get like put off in hopes of a girl that the guys want to ask. And
I just
so,
don't. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure how real. Mind you, this is really subjective. Like, what is it? What is like? What would a normal high schooler do? Would they turn down a girl in that situation at all? I don't even know. That's in your version. It actually doesn't make sense. And this is where it's funny. Where in my version, it actually makes more sense because it's still girls ask, girls choice.
right.
But the main character is no longer a girl, so that he doesn't get to have that like preferential treatment,
Yeah.
like where he gets to choose. Well, and he does, but he's the one who's being asked. All of them. You know what I mean? He's not. And so when it's not like the other people are turning down other people in hopes of this other person, they're all asking him. I don't know. It just makes more sense.
No, it does. It makes perfect sense. Like, and I know that's a few chapters ago, but it is related to the whole.
Because I just don't.
Yeah.
Maybe I just have a low view of my own gender, but I just don't see like, hot girl asks me to prom. Other hot girl I kind of wanted to ask me to prom is not, but maybe. So I won't go with hot girl. Like I just don't. I don't know. Like I just. Like it's kind of. I feel like we're kind of easy. We're just like, yeah, of course, yeah. Like you know what I mean? It's almost like it sounds terrible, but it's like in high school when you're really not really concerned about like how you look at girls. You're not really philosophizing about that. You're just like hot or not. Like you just, you know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? You just be okay with whatever you had as long as it was cute enough. Like which sounds just terrible because it takes the person out of it entirely.
That sounds so bad.
Like, it's awful, but that's high school boys though. Like I say that from personal experience.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, and of course, we're spending this whole chapter talking about a chapter that was like what 2-3 chapters ago. But anyways, so the biggest thing though about this entire chapter is that Bella, after she had her nightmare, she kind of takes her time throughout the morning. She's really kind of dreading what she's going to find when she gets on her very slow, very laggy, terrible internet computer. And over the course of most of the morning, does research on vampires. And she's looking up the cold ones. She's looking up all these different things. Super speed, being super graceful, having eyes that change color, all these sorts of different traits that she's noticed about Edward. And she's trying to make him fit into one of these legends, and she just cannot figure it out. But eventually, she finds a website that has like a bunch of different examples of things, and she finally comes across a legend that specifically talks about the cold ones. And she thinks she's pretty much figured out this is a vampire, or at least this is her ridiculous theory that she only half believes. I mean, after all, how real could vampires be in a teen fiction novel for girls about vampires?
I mean, she doesn't know that though.
You're right. But I do.
You asshole.
So she finally decides that, as we said earlier, she had her dream. She decides, okay, Edward is the one for me, even though he may be a vampire. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. I'm going to confront him. I'm going to find out the truth. And that is something she intends to do soon, but that's going to have to wait till the next chapter.
Like, I just find it kind of funny that, like, I think anytime you bring in the internet into a book, things can be funny because it's like, oh, I went on the internet and I found a page about vampires. You know what I mean? Like, it's real. It's real vampires. I don't know. Mind you, she does a good job of making the article be weird and him kind of not take it super seriously. But it's always, whenever you've got a character in a like book or movie or anything, and they are researching something, I don't know, I always find it kind of odd because you end up having to like they have to find something, you know, like you have to, basically you've only got an option, particularly if it's a situation like in this book, which is normal life is normal until not. And so they've got to research the not normal. And so it's like they go to a library, they go on the internet, they find lots of books that are not helpful at all. But then they find that one strange article, that one strange book.
And it's always
like, you know,
it's almost always within like one day of searching too.
Yeah. It's like, oh wow, you know, on my first trip to the library, you know, like, it's...
Yeah, it's like, well, I've looked through 3 whole books and I've ignored that one with a glowing eye on the front up till now. I wonder if that's got the answers I need. Probably not.
Yeah. Oh my god. Like, anyway, but you can actually argue Harry Potter did really well.
Well, yeah, that's what I was actually about to mention. Because Hermione like spends entire chapters where it's like for chapters in a row she's like in the background hunting through books and not coming up with any answers, and then eventually weeks later,
she finds, like, after lots of actual research, she actually it's like, oh, okay, oh, Harry Potter, you were so wonderful, I love you. Mwah.
All right, everybody, well, until next time, thank you for watching. And tomorrow, we're going to be talking about Chapter 8, Port Angeles.
Port Angeles.
Book Blitz.
Back Blitz.